Uniram XRS is a new product from Netafim that is revolutionary in the subsurface application of water in permanent crop trees. So at Netafim, we were asked a lot of questions and we get a lot of responses and challenges from growers of needs they want. And Netafim listens, and the Uniram XRS is a perfect example of Netafim listening to what growers have been asking for. It's a sustainable product that has no chemicals added to it, that is a root resistant for permanent crops. You're applying the water subsurface, which compared to a sprinkler application, reduces your evaporation by anywhere up to 15%. Another benefit is that you move the hose subsurface, which gets it out of the way of most surface rodents and animals, such as birds, coyotes, and squirrels. The benefits of copper is that roots do not like copper. So the tendency is that when roots get near the stripe or around the tubing or near the dripper, that they'll pull away from there and move on to other areas of the soil where the water is beneficial for the roots, but that way allows the product to be safe and away from root. Now this is an organic solution. It will not dissipate over time. It's impregnated in. It will last for the life of the tubing as long as the tubing is maintained well and taken care of. As you see behind me here, we're in a fresh field that's going to be planted in the next several months. Right now, they're actually utilizing the Uniram XRS on the surface to do pre-irrigation work. That way, the soil is moist and ready to accept a plant. We do recommend that you leave it on the surface just like you would the standard dual line system in the first year. They'll be right up against the plant. That way it ensures that it holds itself well and takes off. Now on year 2, just like you would on a standard dual line system, we would recommend that you spread the hoses out to help assist in root development, as well as that way the root ball and anchoring of these roots will go further out, which will always be beneficial in almonds. Now again, you can leave it on the surface for year 2 or inevitably. It has a standard UV protection that is in all Netafim products and can be totally fine out in the sun as long as you need it to. Now year 3 is when we really recommend you go ahead and inject it or use the disc to make a trench and put it in that way. There you would spread the hoses out again to your desired area of where you would want it, and then put that in the soil. At that point, you're establishing about 3 feet from on either side of the tree, which really allows the water to go out further from the tree, really be in the root zone area that you need to in that top 2 feet, and help establish that tree for the future. So other benefits of dual line drip is you can see it's easily accessible. So if you have a leak from a small animal or from something hitting or cutting it, you can easily access it, you can fix it, and be right back going on a real efficient system in no time. As well as you can actually see the water being applied. So if you're coming through your field and you're looking around and you can see there's no water being applied in an area, you can fix that problem immediately because it obviously can be seen really quickly for being on the surface. For funguses and stuff like that is also a humongous benefit. Because you have no pooling water, you have no water going to atmosphere from sprinklers, it allows this to be a drier orchard, which will not have fungus growth as predominantly as you will find in other orchards. So that also will reduce your pesticide costs. Like all other products from Netafim, Uniram XRS is available in multiple wall thicknesses, multiple sizes, multiple flows, and any custom spacing that you need to maximize the water you have on your premises for the crop that you're trying to produce. Dual line drip is recognized to be the ultimate solution for fruit trees as well as nuts throughout the United States. Hello, how are you doing? My name is Dominic Rossini. I'm an agronomic relationship manager with Netafim USA. I'm here to talk to you about our new product, which is Uniram XRS. It's an STI product for permanent crops, such as almonds. It's a real sustainability advancement in irrigation because it allows the water to be applied underneath the soil, which really helps with evaporation and putting it directly to the roots instead of into the atmosphere. As you can see from the picture here on my presentation, it's a beautiful almond orchard, really uniform, but you also do recognize that there's no hose anywhere to be found, which makes for cultural practices a huge advancement in what we're looking for in the field. A little bit more about this product. It's designed specifically to be subsurface for long periods of time, such in permanent crops like almonds. It does utilize a couple of new technologies that we're bringing out to the market. One is the use of cupron or copper that's embedded into the plastic. It's embedded as a stripe along the tubing, which is to help with strangulation of the tubing from the roots. It's also embedded into the emitter that's right inside of the outlet hole. That's so if a root does try to find its way inside of the hose, it touches the copper that's there on the emitter, and that allows it to pull itself back in a way so it doesn't clog anything. Why we use copper or cupron is because it's an actual physical barrier that roots do not like. They don't like the feeling or the chemical that's put off by copper. The roots do go away from the copper stripe as well as a copper emitter, which allows the hose to emit the water in an extremely uniform way throughout your field, but without the risk of high root strangulation or root blocking of the emitter. More about the Uniram XRS emitter. That emitter is based upon the industry standard for the highest emitter that has been produced on the market, which is the Uniram emitter. We utilize the same body as the Uniram and the same chemical resistant silicon diaphragm that is found in all other PC products built by Netafim. In this case, the outer covering, which has a locking mechanism that locks it onto the emitter, is covered and embedded with a cupron or copper. Now, being the fact that this is embedded into the plastic and not just applied as a chemical means it doesn't dissipate over time. This product will be along with your crop as long as it can be in the ground. The STI wetting pattern is really important. This is where we want to maximize against root intrusion. We want to use the superior cupron protection to help assist in that. And also the advanced emitter technology really maximizes uniformity. All other emitters are compared to the Uniram. It is the top level that's out there in the field. It has the highest amount of uniformity. By utilizing this dripper with a copper really allows us to have protection against root intrusion and superior uniformity across the soil. We also notice here in the picture that you can see where the water does sub up out of the soil so you can easily see it. That's because our recommended burial depth is 4 to 6 inches deep below the soil surface. This is real important because it puts it right in the middle of the feeder roots, which are the less aggressive roots inside of the tree as well, but they're also the ones that are smaller that will not allow it to really strangulate the product. Furthermore, with the water being right there, it doesn't have to search for it. It allows the roots to really uptake the water and the nutrients that are applied right directly into the root zone. Lastly, it also helps for the fact that it is right there in an easily obtainable site in case you do have something like a subterranean animal like a gopher that does happen to strike it. It's easily obtainable at 4 to 6 inches deep for somebody to maintain that. Now, when it comes to harvest, besides the real utilization of the sustainability of allowing the floor to be less maintained due to the fact that the water is subterranean, as well as the fact that your equipment can move more smoothly and quickly through your fields. During harvest, it really shines here in the fact that it eliminates moisture stress. It prevents any physical damage, especially due to your equipment. Furthermore, from birds, from dogs, from coyotes, from squirrels, they're not going to chew on this searching for water. They're going to go somewhere else to find that. It allows also in this time since you're applying water in the heat of the season, you're not going to have where the water is going to go ahead and go to the atmosphere, and it's going to create more problems for your orchards with fungus and problems of that nature. Lastly, it also really decreases the weed germination. Being subterranean, there's only certain little spots where you will see it come out of the soil, will allow the weeds not to germinate and keep floors clean. That's less trash when you're picking up. It's also less stress on the trees because they can have water applied while you have the nuts on the ground, which will allow you to really maximize your equipment as well as maximize the health of your trees to produce even more nuts the following year. So Netafim really listened to what growers were looking for. They've been asking us for years, can we please find a way to put drip hose underground for long periods of time? We found a sustainable product that is not have any chemicals ingested into it, won't have any problems to the environment, but really allows your trees to be healthy, happy, longer throughout their growing season, producing better quality crops and more uniform crops. And that product is Uniram XRS.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. Great to learn a little more about the Uniram XRS. The next portion of this discussion is dedicated to crop protection and specifically chemigation in almonds, as well as the Precise Defense Program, which is a program that Bayer Crop Science and Netafim are collaborating on in the 2021 season. My name is Chuck Bates, Market Segment Leader with Specialty Crops for Netafim USA. I'll kind of walk you through some of the details here. So really, when we think about chemigation in almond orchards, there's a few things that we like to think about prior to qualifying the system, as well as during the operation of the irrigation system. So some of the main principles that we really look at prior to qualifying the system for chemigation are the overall system uniformity or distribution uniformity of the system. It's highly desirable to have a high distribution uniformity because the distribution uniformity of the water is absolutely the same as the distribution uniformity of nutrients and chemicals within the irrigation system. The second thing that we do kind of qualifying a system for a chemigation treatment or the precise defense program is look at the drip line configuration that's installed in the field. I think most people would agree that the closer the dripper spacing, the much more efficient the application of chemicals is. We get that wetted envelope completely around the root system. For the Precise Defense program that'll be launched in 2021, 24-inch maximum spacing of our Uniram drip line is what we're recommending. Once the system's qualified, there's a couple of things that we consider as the system is operated. Really, the first part of it is the timing of the application to make sure we get the proper coverage of the chemical over the complete root zone of the tree. So timing is critical. The water that we put on before applying the chemical, the amount of time that we apply the chemical versus the water that goes on top of the chemical to move the chemical into the root zone is critical. So it's something that we look at as well. And finally, really just the operation and maintenance of the system. It's critical in order to maintain that high distribution uniformity, there's lots of variables that need to be considered in terms of the operation of the system and the maintenance of the system. I'll go into a little bit of the details on some of these as we move through the deck here. Drip irrigation has proven to be a very uniform way to apply water, chemicals, and nutrients to crops, not just almonds, but almost every crop under the sun today. There's some application of drip around the country where we are using it as a chemigation system or a fertigation system, many places all around the country. The great thing about this really is that the application uniformity of nutrients and crop protection chemicals is directly correlated to the overall system uniformity. So, if we've got a high uniformity system, 90+%, we're getting that 90% plus application of chemicals as well as nutrients throughout the irrigated areas. It's critical to evaluate this system performance prior to implementing a chemigation protocol. Generally speaking, we want to see it, brand new system should be right around the 90%, and it's quite common with drip to see systems, even older systems that are at that 90% range. We design systems, when they're brand new to be 90+% uniform, but over the years, as we operate them, things can change, and there's a couple things that really influence that. Primarily, what we see after the installation of the system and many years later is the phenomena of dripper plugging. It can be caused by a lot of different things, but generally speaking, it's a function of water quality and maintenance by the grower. So there's a lot of preventative maintenance things that the grower can do to really mitigate the risk of dripper plugging, as well as other chemical treatments that can be put into place to mitigate organic type plugging. Inorganic plugging is generally a function of filtration or maybe potentially some other maintenance item that needs attention within the system. So that can easily be addressed by making the repairs and specifying the right filter on the front end of an irrigation design. So the second thing that causes or affects DU in an irrigation system is really a design consideration. It's pressure differences. Pressure differences can be caused by two main items, the first being elevation of the field, and the second being friction loss within the hoses, pipelines, and other components of the system and the network of components that make up a complete irrigation system. When we look at elevation changes, generally what we do to offset that is to recommend using pressure compensating drippers like our Uniram XR that Dominic just spoke about. And, it can also be mitigated through having an excellent design done by an authorized Netafim dealer and a turnkey Netafim irrigation system. So when we think about some other key considerations of chemigation, the drip line configuration is probably one of the more important ones. Dripper spacing is critical in the chemigation applications to provide the coverage that we really desire, particularly with nematicides, like we're talking about here, the Vellum 1 product from Bayer Crop Sciences. It's very important that we specify the right spacing between the drippers to create that envelope of water around the entire root zone of the tree. Typically, what we're recommending for the Vellum 1 application and the Precise Defense program with Bayer Crop Sciences is dual line drip, so drip lines on both sides of the tree. And the recommended dripper spacing is not to exceed 24 inches for this particular program and application. The second piece of it that we think about is the timing of the application, making sure that the irrigation schedule is worked out to a point that we can ensure that we've got enough water ahead of the treatment, enough water during the application of the chemical, and enough water after the application of the chemical to move it to the part of the root zone where it's the most effective. And generally what that means is positioning the product in the right place. So we want to get the entire root zone covered with the product in order for it to be the most effective treatment in the almond crop. So really, when we think about that, the application of crop protection products is critical to the overall yield and quality that a lot of growers are really looking to seek out there. And there's been growing pressure about the way that some of these chemicals are applied. There's certainly consumer pressure related to the awareness of pesticide residues in fruits and vegetables, as well as political pressure in different countries around the world, just relating to certain chemicals and the visual aspect of their application, as you can see in the picture above here. So Bayer and Netafim came together to create Precise Defense to utilize drip irrigation for the application of these products, which certainly minimizes, some of the environmental impacts that are associated with other methods of application and ensures a much safer application of these products in the soil. The program looks like this. In 2021, it's targeted at almonds within California. The product from Bayer is the Vellum 1 nematicide, and the qualifier is that you purchase a new turnkey Netafim irrigation system on your new almond planting. If that program requirement is met, then there's rebates paid back to the grower for the purchase of Vellum 1 nematicide from the crop protection channel. That in a nutshell is what we're doing this year with the Precise Defense program with Bayer Crop Sciences and Netafim. Thank you for your attention. Have a great day.